Jupiter. I was playing the game on the Jupiter.
What game on the Jupiter?
Russian game. I was playing the game where you type.
It doesn't turn on, Doug. We don't know how to turn it on. I told you that when you got here.
Where did I get my obvious knowledge of music theory? Fun story. So this is going back to my early 20s, so 13 years ago when I was at music school. There were a handful of kids that were really good at guitar. I think I was one of them. Basically, you show up on day one, you don't know anyone, they put you in bands, and then you are in that band for the next 2 years, and you do all your coursework together. Really good system, works really well, really smart. So the band I was in, I was one of the 2 guitarists. I was like 20, 21 or something. The other guitarist was 16. And he was the best guitarist in the building. Like, there's just no, in terms of just like ability to play, he was the best guitarist by like a significant margin. And there were some great players, really excellent players. He was the best, and I was in a band with him. So most of the time I ended up obviously playing rhythm guitar. To a 20-year-old, that was a fate worse than death. He was going to be able to get by just shredding the heck out of whatever. He'd be able to get like a passing grade just without really having to try. I decided to get really, really good at all the theory stuff. I could play better than him because I knew how to use modes. So it wasn't that what I was doing was technically more adept than him. It was that my note choice was just way more engaging and way more interesting. So if you wanted just like a standard rock player, this kid was the guy. Absolutely 100% the guy. If you wanted something slightly more interesting, I was the guy. So technically speaking, wasn't the best player, still not the best player, but I got good at thinking my way into being better at certain things. So I got really good at like kind of chord structure and scales and the modes and all stuff like that. And that was my flex. Oh, and what helped, of course, was this kid lived like nearby. He was like a 20-minute car journey away. So he would just, class would end, he'd hop in the car, home, done. I would travel an hour and a half there and an hour and a half back. I was using that spare 3 hours sat on a train to get smart. I became a big nerd for modes and chord structure and stuff like that. That's my story. That's my story of why I'm a big nerd. This is better to be the best piece of music I've ever written, I swear to God. This is a really good start. It is wacky. I don't think we need to talk about that. I think that's clearly a masterpiece.
Guess what? I'm poor.
Can we be assured that we won't be thrown out of the meeting like we were last time?
As long as we have reasonable behaviour from everyone, no one would be excluded from the meeting.
I was thrown out of the meeting. So it's
Right.
Mrs. Weaver, please.
Please let the gentleman.
To disrupt this meeting, I will have to remove you from it.
You can't. Mrs. Weaver, please. You can't.
You have no authority here, Jackie Weaver. No authority. No authority. No authority. You have no authority. No authority. No authority at all.
You just kicked him out. Don't.
This is a meeting called by two councillors.
Illegally. Read the standing orders. I take charge.
This is a meeting.
Read them and understand them. I take charge. Illegally. I take charge. I take.
Where's the chairman? Where's the chairman gone?
Councillor Burkle, we've been through this.
What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about.
You have no authority here, Jackie Weaver. No authority. No authority at all. No authority. You have no authority. No authority. No authority at all.
Can I propose John Smith, please?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
So when I was at music college, we had there was the performance section, the DJ section, and the live sound, like the technical section.
Right.
They work together wherever possible because DJs get free access to new music to remix. The technical people get to do lighting and sound for the performances. Worked really well. It's a great idea. So we're doing a fake gig. We did a lot of fake gigs. So we wandered over to the Waterfront in Norwich, amazing venue. I think it's still there. We plug in, we start playing, and I'm playing guitar. And Spanners, you might know that a guitar needs to be heard through an amplifier. A lot of the sound from a guitar, especially if you're playing like rock or blues or any kind of electric style, a lot of the sound comes from the amplifier. A lot of like the crunch, the gain, the distortion, as well as just making the loud enough to hear. So they're trying out something called a DI box, which is really great for keyboards and bass guitars.
Yeah, I know what that is. We've got them.
Of course you do. You plug your bass into the DI box, and then the DI box sends it to the mixing desk, and you can also plug out of the DI box into your amplifier, so you can play your bass or your keyboard and be heard. No one told the tech students that that doesn't work for an electric guitar. You've just got to mic up an electric guitar amp, otherwise it sounds like you're playing a really bad banjo. So for 20 minutes, unbeknownst to me, because I was behind the monitors, I was playing what sounded like a really bad banjo.
Oh,
and all the tech kids were like, this dude is awful. What is going on? And I'm back. Bum, bum, bum. Isn't my room very blue? It's so blue, it's made my shirt blue. Ha 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 ha. Just a bit of humour for you there. Some blue humour. God, shut up. What a good start. Hello. Hello, the internet. It's me, Liam Taylor, LTGuitarist. We are going to be making some music in Cubase. Specifically today, we are making digital minimalism. Why? Why are we doing that? For what purpose are we doing that? So I didn't really know about the genre of minimalism until I worked in education a few years ago. That is to say, I started work a decade ago, up to a few years ago, working in education. I was sort of familiar with Steve Reich, John Cage, these kinds of composers, but I didn't really think of what they were doing as being a distinct genre of music. I suppose I just didn't really think about it. And well, they are minimalist composers, and they sort of fit quite neatly within this minimalist genre. And minimalism is something that is taught. I wasn't sure if it was just the schools that I was working at, but it seems to be quite a common thing at high school, secondary education level, up to and including GCSEs in the UK. I suppose because it's a very much a rules-based style of music, and these rules, you know, once you the barrier to entry is very low, because you only need to know how to do a couple of things. Like you can have a glockenspiel and play like these same three notes in the same order, and you have created a piece of minimalism. And it's really easy to just follow a formula, and it can be as complicated or as simple as you want. As long as you're following this formula, you will have created a piece of minimalism. So I think that's why it's taught at GCSE or up to GCSE. So one of the challenges I had, one of the very last things I did when I was working in education, was trying to make this minimalism stuff achievable on computers, so that kids who weren't necessarily good at playing instruments, they could learn to use MIDI roll and sequence it digitally. And we made a change from a 10-year-old version of Pro Tools on PCs that weren't good at working. We upgraded to Cubase. That was one of the last things we did before I left. So I sort of spent a while working out specifically how to do this stuff in Cubase so that kids could access it. So that's kind of what we're going to look at today. So we're going to, in the space of, well, we say 2 hours, it's up to 2 hours. So by 8 o'clock, we're going to have a piece of minimalism. We're going to use a couple of these different techniques, and we're going to achieve these compositional techniques in ways that are sort of unique to Cubase, I guess. Yeah, that's broadly speaking the goal of today. Let me just check that we're connected to our audio device. Yes, we are. Let's get into it. So I spent a while in the last few years making videos about these specific techniques, so that they're all up on my YouTube. They're definitely still available. I think, was there like a specific playlist I had? I feel like there probably was. Let's have a little look. Have a little look over here. I mean, this is something I could have planned well in advance, but I didn't. Let's look for content. Oh, they've moved things. Maybe they haven't. Maybe I just haven't been on YouTube in a while. There should be a playlist of compositional. I call it compositional tool belt. Let's try that. Tool belt. Techniques. Okay. It's not showing me playlists. This is wonderful. This is all stuff I could have done in advance but didn't. You'll have to take my word for it. There is definitely a playlist. Songwriting tutorials. Yeah. Maybe. Not really. You know what? Let's not worry about it. I just wasted your time. How does it feel? Let's get into it. So, get rid of that piano for the moment. Let's have a few instruments loaded up. Well, I've got a few different instances of Contact here. I feel like I've just got the Irish harp, so maybe we should use it. That might be nice. I mean, if I could hear anything, that'd be really wonderful. No. Doesn't want to play. You said you were connected. You didn't mean it. Okay, that's fine. Sometimes we all tell lies. Oh, lovely. Big fan of all of that. We're coming through quite quietly. I mean, again, this is something I perhaps could have checked. No, you just want to be quiet. That's fine. I get it. Okay, I'll try to boost that here. So we've got harp. I think we'll have piano of some description. We've got so many to choose from. Una Corda. I've not really played with Una Corda. Yeah, fine. Una Corda is a special piano. The reason Una Corda is special is because typically with pianos, especially the higher strings, you tend to have more... the higher keys have more strings hammered. This one I think is just one string per one string per key, which is quite an interesting idea. I don't really have anything to say about that. And then let's go for, I don't know, something kind of tuned percussion-y, something kind of or let's go for some pizzicato. Lovely. Yeah, let's do that. Viola. Let's also have I wonder if we have that in Contact. I'm sure we probably do in the factory library. Oh yeah, we don't have any bass. Let's have an upright bass. quite like that, to be honest. And then let's maybe just have one more thing. We're doing quite a lot with Contact today. I don't think that's a problem. Orchestral. Xylophone. Yeah. Turn the reverb off. That'll do. Cool. So not a typical ensemble, but then it wouldn't be. So maybe with the piano, we try to come up with a motif. Motifs, you can call it ostinato, motif, theme, whatever you want, is a recurring short series of notes, like a little riff you might call it, or a tiny melody. And we basically just play that in repeat, and then we alter it, and we what's the word? Amend it? Iterate. We iterate on that idea for several minutes, and that's the song. There was something like that, wasn't it? I quite like that. That's interesting. What I've got there, which you couldn't see annoyingly. We might. That's what B flat. We might expect to have the F there as a fifth, but we don't. So that's kind of what a fourth to a minor sixth, seventh. Yeah, minor seventh. So it's very minor sounding. But if we have that kind of staccato, that might sort of work. That feels quite show busy, I guess, quite West Endy. So we'll start here. And also, how fast do we want to be? Perhaps a bit slower than that. It's a touch fast. Let's try 87. Verse 2. Yeah, let's try that. Cool. Let's maybe have that low A sharp, like a little bit more discreet. Cool. I'm going to just screw with some of the durations here. This is just to make it feel and sound a little bit more like a person's actually playing this instrument. You don't necessarily need to do this. I'm just a difficult person. Cool. So we can start that out. That's going to be our motif. I'm quite fond of that. So let's... Oh, yeah. Always save your work. Let's have a little think about which of these techniques to introduce. So let's take, for example, piano versus harp. So at the moment, we have the same motif being played in unison. It's the same thing. Which is fine. We don't have an image for a harp. Look at that. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's, you know, it's fine. It's a little boring. So we can start off with something called augmentation. Augmentation is possibly the most straightforward minimalist composition technique to get your head around. You make it longer by, well, however much you want. In this example, we're going to make it twice as long, so the notes are held out for longer. It's augmented, meaning it's bigger, essentially. It's a really easy way to do this. First, we've got to know how many bars we are looking at. We have got 2 bars, bar 3, bar 4. I'm going to press the 1 button. You can see my cursor changing here. The 1 button until it's got a little clock next to it, which means I have to press it 1, 2 times. That means that when I grab this block of MIDI, I can then stretch it out to 4 bars, and now I have the exact same thing that I played before, but it's longer. It's twice as long. If I wanted it to be a beat longer, I could just do that. It's just going to stretch it out to whatever amount I say. And by the way, when you have a block highlighted, it's just Control-D to duplicate it, and it works across as many tracks as you have as well, which is handy. So we have the piano playing the original motif, and the harp is playing an augmented version of it. It sounds like this. Which I quite like. They feel like they're treading on each other's toes a little bit, don't they? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this. I'm going to press Q so those notes are a little more in time. Well, that one's come over a little too far. Otherwise they look good. I'm going to press Control A to select everything in this piano roll. I'm going to press Shift up. This is now an octave higher. Which is nicer because they sort of feel like they're gelling together a little more, don't they? Cool. What should we do next? Well, we've got a nice little section here. Let's keep going until we have each instrument playing something. Yeah, that seems like a good starting point. So bass. What should we do for bass? I'm going to do a couple things. I think for bass, I'm going to 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just going to take these first 4 notes because this other note here is a G sharp. This is also a G sharp. So I feel like we can lose that. And I'm going to augment all of these notes so they're all held for an entire bar. Very, very long. So I'm sort of putting a spin on the rules a little bit. But I can do that because this is my piece of music. I've decided that's allowed. So I'm just going to stretch these all out to be about a bar long. And yeah, there we go. Do we have an A sharp lower than that? No. I think those could be lower. Yeah. Let's have a listen to this now. the wonderful thing about writing music this way is that if you're only using the same 4 notes, these are notes that I found through playing on the piano, a little riff that I liked, and then repeated it. That's all we've done. But this sounds like a complete piece of music, and it's coherent because we're only using 4 notes. Yeah? You know, things get complicated when you start working with 7-note scales, or even chromatically. So I'm really fond of this. So, what else could we do? Let's add some... I'm thinking xylophone next, because the technique I next want to talk about is diminution. Very hard to say. And the reason I want to do it on xylophone is because the viola here is playing pizzicato, and I want to keep it that way because I like pizzicato is when you pluck the string with your fingers rather than play it with a bow. I really like that sound, but it's hard to do fast. So xylophone, you're playing with sticks on bars, so you can do it a little bit faster. Let's have a look at this. So this again is the same series of 4 notes. This is the full motif. I think we're outside of the playable range of the xylophone, so I'm gonna select everything, shift up a couple times so everything is playable. Cool. Diminution is faster, twice as fast. We're just gonna half it basically. So again, I'm gonna zoom in so it's a little easier to see. I'm gonna press 1 until a little clock appears next to my mouse cursor, and then I'm gonna grab this block and I'm gonna half it. Does that feel like it's possible to play? No, not really. So I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the bass, and that's decide that actually I can play these notes at any speed. So if I just make this adaptation, we now have the same 4 notes. They're just being played equidistant. All these notes are the same length, which feels a little easy to play. Actually, if that one went down, yeah, and that might, I don't know. Let's hear that in the context. So I've done a kind of diminution, but not really. What happens if we actually try to do that as a proper diminution? Let's zoom in and again do the time stretch. Is that playable? Ooh, it's fast, but that's playable. Let's have a listen. I would struggle to play that, but I'm not a xylophonist, am I? I think that's playable. So we'll leave that where it is. So I actually think there's a bit too much going on there. I sort of prefer it, I think, if we were just playing these 3 notes, just A sharp, D sharp, F sharp. So I'm inclined to do that for the moment. I'm going to put this over here because we can do another technique later. One of the cool things about minimalism is that we sort of expect pieces of music to evolve over time. Oh, it's not a perfect fit, but that's fine. That's quite cool. And yeah, what I like about that is it gives it quite a lot of interest, because it's off, isn't it? It just is off. When does it repeat? Is there a point where it repeats at the start of a bar, where things sync up? 3 bars, I think, by the looks of it. Yeah, every 3 bars it syncs up. Okay, that makes sense, I suppose, maths. So we'll come back to the xylophone, because we're going to do some cool stuff there. We need to decide what the viola's doing. So I might take this motif. Let's first off find the range of the viola. I think just an octave higher. I might have the viola play these notes, these 4 notes. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to reverse it, which is very easy. You just reverse it. If the note happens last, you put it first. You just reverse it like so. Reversal, easy. I'm then going to do a kind of augmentation. So I'm going to have these notes last for half a bar each, but they're also going to repeat. Okay, so we're going to have we're going to do a fun rhythm, but like this. I want those middle ones to be lower in velocity. Yeah, okay. So how does that sound next to what we've got going on? It's quite complex now. So we've achieved something quite hypnotic without trying especially hard, right? We've not had to think really hard about what we're doing. We've just come up with a motif, which is just something I played around by screwing around on the piano, and then we said, okay, how can we adapt this? We used some techniques and we did it. So now we have a 8-bar phrase, which sounds pretty good, pretty interesting by itself. So now that we have this, we need to turn it into a piece of music. Minimalist music can be very long. We're not going to try and do anything incredibly long. We're just going to try and do something that's maybe 3 minutes in length, but most importantly, it has to be engaging and interesting throughout. Often minimalist music, minimalism, isn't. It's hypnotic, but it's not truly engaging. It makes very good background music, but I think the real challenge is to make something that's properly engaging and really interesting throughout. So that's what we're going to try and do now, I guess. So how do we make a start there? I guess the first thing we want to hear is the piano part. So what I'm going to do, just move this stuff over here, and we're going to duplicate that piano section. So the first thing we hear is that. And then I'm going to think, what do we want to hear next? I really like the harp. I thought the harp was really nice. So we'll perhaps have the harp next. And perhaps the last thing that should come in is the xylophone. So I'm going to do this. Let's just hear that over time. Fine. Let's copy this and let's try and see how long is that. Okay, so if we wanted a normal length piece of music, that's pretty much as far as we have. That's 3.5 minutes. That's long. So let's try and work this out in blocks. Let's start off with the xylophone. The xylophone currently to me sounds a little bit intrusive. So what I want to do, what do I want to do with that? Do I want to start it later? Maybe I do want to start it later. That's a good start. So we'll start it later, and what we're going to do as well is develop this over time. And I'm not going to worry too much about it happening at strict intervals. I just want to make sure it happens. So I want to get from this pattern to the original pattern, which is this. So we need to think about what's the difference between this phrase and this phrase, right? And I mean, let's start off easy. This one's longer and it has more notes. So we need to see how we can make this longer with more notes, kind of one step at a time. So we'll start there. Now let's see, okay, what's one change we could make with this motif to make it more like this motif? Well, this doesn't have a G sharp at the end, so that's one thing. It also has longer notes, and not all the notes are exactly the same length, so let's maybe say the first thing we're going to do, the first thing we're going to do is add that low G sharp. So it would be held for that long? Yes. So that's going to be quite hard to play. Just because it's a bit wonky. I like it a lot though. Cool, so what's one more thing we could do to make this match this a little closer? I mean, the next most obvious thing for me is to add the other G sharp. So we can do that quite easily. Let's try that. How does that sound? That's going to match very nicely with the bars around it. Brilliant. What is another thing we could do to make that match the original motif? We can make these notes in the middle longer. It might be fun to do that with the second note first. So how long does that need to be? That needs to be an entire beat long. I mean, let's start off with half of that. Yeah. And the same thing again. We now want... So I'm just making space so we have enough space to repeat all these ideas. So we need to make this another beat long. Very good. And then we just do that, stretch it out. Good stuff. I'm sort of imagining that this isn't really written down in musical notation so much as it is improvised by a group of people. So I'm not so worried about saying, okay, you have to do each iteration of this motif 18 times or whatever. It's just something you have to do over time. I think that's a better way to approach it. So how does this version sound when repeated? Is it weird? And then this version. Cool, so then is that the same? Oh, it's nearly the same. Why is that different? Interesting. Why are they different? Because that one's 3 beats long? No. Oh, okay. Hang on, which one's which? That was the original. Huh. What's happened there? That's interesting. Just trying to work out why these are different. They should be the same by now. Well, maybe that's the next thing we do is bring these notes into alignment. I need to delete everything there. So how should that sound? Oh yeah, we also decided that might be quite hard to play that speed, didn't we? Because it's so lopsided. So actually, maybe I'm not worried about that. Maybe I want it to end up exactly like this pattern, not half the speed of it. So okay, let's find another thing. What's the next thing we can do to make that happen? I guess we have to keep making notes longer, right? So then let's make these notes properly long. So that one, we also want to start that early. So how long are these? These are 3 beats each, and that's 4 bars each. Okay, 3 and then 4. So we could make this one another beat long. Is that right? Yes, another beat long. That's good stuff. Let's repeat that a couple times. And then again, I think we could make the first beat even longer. This is like a whole load of detail. This is more detail than maybe I should be doing for a piece of music like this, but I find this kind of detail very entertaining. So then that middle note wants to be another beat long, doesn't it? So then we'll do this to there. Cool. Cool. So then it's not exactly the same as this one. So what can we do to make that the case? The note durations are a little different. So that first G sharp should be a beat later. That's an easy enough thing to do. If we add a beat, move this a bit later. There we go. That was done. And then what else can we do? Lay that over the top. Okay, so then the final G sharp should also be, I think, one note later. Let's repeat that a few times. Does that overlap with this? Yes. We've achieved it. So we've managed to get to the end. Fine, brilliant. So let's start filling in these gaps. And of course it's not going to be a perfect repetition. So I'm going to try and find places where actually it's pretty close to being a perfect repetition. It's not going to be possible every time, but it might be some of the time. No. What I might do is just shove these along a bit. So again, we're looking for it to land on a whole beat. There we go. There's one. Great. And again, does it land on a whole beat? It will eventually. I mean, maybe our piece of music needs to be much longer. So I guess it's every time we land on a beat of a bar. Oh yeah, I like that one. That's when the pattern changes. What a stupid rule. What a stupid rule that I absolutely love. Oh yeah, there's one. Brilliant. Although that one didn't go on for very long. No, I don't care. So these are changes that are happening very gradually over the course of this piece of music. And that's what we want. We want it to start one place and end up somewhere entirely different. Oh damn, this one's going to be annoying. There it is. So let's repeat that a bit. This is going to go on forever, and I'm not sorry about it. That one's nice and quick, good stuff. And then this one should be, oh, it's not quite whole beats, is it? Damn. This one might really be a pain in the butt. So close. There we go, good stuff. And this one. Yep, great. And then we have our finished one, which doesn't loop. Oh yeah, we want more space there. So that's a perfect loop. Nearly 6 minutes long. I mean, that's pretty fair for a piece of minimalism. Let's listen to some of the changes, not all the way through because life is very short. I might start it. I think what I might do actually is, to save us some time, bring it forward a bit, maybe to like here. So then actually we can end this around there. Yeah. I should have made them different colours. It's interesting how it does a little bit change the context of the stuff that's happening underneath it, which I am a fan of. Cool. There's quite a lot of other stuff we can do. For example, let's start maybe talking about inversion. Inversion is something where you pick an axis and you swap the notes around it. So low notes become high notes become low notes, right? Let's take the harp. Let's take this harp and we'll come up with an inverted version. So actually the motif is only this long. So what would be the way to do this? So in terms of the notes that we're using, it's just these 4 notes, but then we have octaves of G sharp. So maybe that D would become, hang on, let's have 2 versions next to each other. So this second version is what we're working on. So we're keeping the axis point of A sharp where it is. So D sharp would become G. sharp. And then the next lowest note is F sharp, but a lower F sharp. And the next lowest note is D sharp. And then likewise, D sharp would be G sharp again. F sharp would be still F sharp. And then this would become D sharp. Nice. That's our reversal. So again, how do we do that over time? Let's do it pretty much the same process. Let's see if we can do that a little quicker now that we've practiced it a bit. So the first thing we want to do is swap maybe this first note, or maybe this G sharp, or let's swap that first F sharp, because the F sharps are still F sharps, they're just lower or higher. So that'll be our first change. Our next change is going to be the next F sharp. Actually, no, let's do that one last. D sharp is going to become G sharp. And then our next change, G sharp is going to become a lower D sharp. And then the next one, F sharp is F sharp. And this one, G sharp becomes D sharp. And then the last one is this. There we go, we did it. So let's maybe do these in batches of 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the last one. Let's try that. Nifty. So let's listen to that transition over time. I think I should probably colour these. So we'll make that. We'll keep that colour. We'll make that the darker one. Let's go for greens actually for this harp. So then that's this colour. So then when does it change again? Here. There, I think. There should be 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, there we go. I forgot how many I did. This is just a handy way to visualize things with the colors available in Cubase. So then it should be here as the next change. Yeah, it looks like it. That's purple. And then again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Saying it. Where is it? so that's different. 2, 3, 4, so it should be here. What happens here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. So then purple becomes a different kind of purple. And then cool. So that's nice to see that development over time. Again, we're still only using 4 notes. We're just using different octaves now. So over time we can add a little more drama by changing the rhythm of some of these notes. So I think for the bass at the top here, it might be helpful to kind of speed up a little bit. I also noticed that when you scroll out, I'm going to move this over to 17. So when you scroll out, we can sort of see things a little more aligned with the bar lines at the top there. Okay, so we'll do, let's say here, we'll start to do a different kind of rhythm. We're just going to play the same notes. We're just going to go a little bit more often. We're just going to play minims rather than whole notes. Cool. That was red. Let's make it whatever this is. 2, 3, 4 of them. And then this one, this is now going to be we'll do like a not quite a triplet, but like nearly a triplet. This sort of thing. Yeah, like so. Oops. There you go. Like so. Then 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And the next one, I don't really know if we have a name for this technique. I'm just making things faster. We could call it rhythmic addition, I suppose, if we wanted to. Do that as well. And the overall idea is that hopefully the thing we end up with is drastically different. As different as possible to the initial pattern. I'm just going to do some rearranging of velocity to make it feel a bit more like it's actually being played by people. 1, 2, 3, 4 of those, and then we'll do like a da 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 kind of pattern. Da, da, da. And up to D sharp, F sharp, G sharp. That colour is going to be this kind of purple. 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to just have quavers. Yeah, quavers. And up to there we go. We're going to change that color as well to this blue. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't really want to go any faster than that, so maybe I'll this go for twice as long, and then maybe we'll just end with just an A held out for 4 bars. Listening to the bass. Nice and straightforward change there. A little more rhythmic. I like that one a lot. Bit more stressful. I think we'll end with the piano one, just an A sharp as well. Brilliant. I want to introduce you to something called phasing. Phasing is a favourite of mine. I'm going to duplicate this piano part. I'm going to pan one of them hard left and one of them hard right. Piano left, piano right. So at the moment we'll have the same thing in both ears. Sounds exactly like it did before, right? I'm actually going to come into this right piano. I'm going to change the piano preset. We're just going to use a different piano. I'm going to close that one. I'm going to scroll down and I'm going to find the Gentleman. The Gentleman. There he is, an upright piano. That should be coming through. Should be coming through your right instead of your left, but let's not worry about that too much. Cool. I'm going to glue these together by pressing, what's that, number 4? Highlighting all these tracks, pressing the number 4 to get the glue. So this is now one big clip, right? I'm going to come in here and with the right piano I'm going to set it out of phase. What does that mean? So I'm going to press 1 until I've got the cursor with the clock. I'm going to stretch it so that this this final note happens a beat, excuse me, a full bar later. Very nearly. There we go. So what we have now is we've taken the piano part, we've played it now across 2 pianos, and we've made one slower than the other, but in such a way that you're not going to hear it until later. Like, we start out perfectly in unison. These 2 pianos are playing exactly the same thing. But as you go along, it's going to become obvious. In fact, it might become obvious really soon. Let's listen. Yeah, that's too much of an effect, I think. So let's maybe have it just become a beat later. So I'm basically using the end point to govern where I want this to end. If I turn the grid off, that might help. So that should just happen a beat later. So there will be parts where this sounds fine. There will be parts when this sounds really incredible, and there will be parts where it sounds garbage. So it doesn't sound bad yet, it just sounds like we've got quite a wide sounding piano. That feels like an effect. That's pretty crazy. So that might be a little annoying to have that happening in amongst everything else. Shall we just try and listen through start to finish? I know that's a big ask because it's, what, 6-7 minutes long. 6.5 minutes long. Let's just try and get through it and see. Try to pay attention to where it becomes annoying or boring. Ideally it wouldn't, but if it happens, let's try and decide where. So it's here for me. And actually I'm finding the xylophone to be mostly annoying in terms of the timbre and the speed it's going at. And then the piano is also like a little bit annoying as well. So I wonder if this is the point where we stop worrying so much about it being typically minimalism, and then maybe we start to introduce some other elements like a drum kit, something like that. I think this could have some like really kind of cool hip hop style beat behind it. So maybe that's something we look at, and then we don't worry too much about adhering to this minimalist form. Maybe we just introduce these different elements at a different time. So let's maybe say let's mute piano right and bring piano into the middle again, and then we're gonna add let's stick with battery, stick with Contact, because we've used exclusively Contact so far. Let's use Empire Breaks. Not really used Empire Breaks yet. Let's age it up. Maybe not that much. So I'm gonna actually like make a beat from scratch. rather than relying on the presets there. That's too long. Let's go for a 2-bar phrase. So we've got 2 kick drums, interesting. Cool. I'm going to slightly offset the hi-hats. Increase the velocity of those, and maybe the offbeat hi-hats as well. Let's repeat this, get rid of that. Maybe this. Yeah, that's quite cool. So that's going to be our beat. So actually at this point, I think maybe that's where we want to introduce the xylophone. I'm gonna take all of that and just put it over here for the moment. I'm going to actually treat this a little bit more like a piece of hip hop. We're gonna have a cut here. Gonna get rid of all of that. Xylophone is going to go. God, there we go. We're going to do this. And we're going to cut everything else out. Everything else that's playing. Viola goes, piano goes. So viola and piano, that's easy enough. I actually want to cut the volume on it. So the harp, which is in the middle of playing something, is just going to get removed. So volume automation on all of these tracks. Down to 0, and then we're just gonna do a really harsh move there, slightly less harsh on the volume down here. How does it sound? With the xylophone, I guess. Cool. I forgot to do the volume down here as well. Cool. There we go. That's kind of fun. I desperately need a bathroom break. I'm just gonna hit play and I'll be right back. Oh boy. Good stuff. So I think that the beat does really, really help it. I think we probably need to add a fill of some kind. So let's do something with that roll. Oops, come back. Come by. Come by. Come by. Da 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 da. Do we have any other? Maybe. I prefer the snares to this. There you go. So then at this point we maybe come in with a slightly different pattern of some kind. So I mean we could then take, I don't know, we could take that latter part of the pan. Maybe this one. Yeah, that'll do. Bring that in. Bring in this rhythm. Was it this one? I think I kind of preferred just that same note for the bass. That's nice. So then let's take this pattern that was here, yeah, and then I think use that wire here. So we're kind of just finding ways to rearrange what we've done. So we've kind of done this evolution of a minimalist motif, and now we're picking and choosing which of those bits we want to use at any one time. Let's find another one of these patterns. I think that's probably one of the weirdest ones, so we'll use that. We'll bring that in here. Let's So maybe listen up to that point and just see what we think. I do like it when the drums come in. Maybe get rid of the viola at that point. And then I think here is maybe where we bring in the piano phasing. So what I might do is select a duration. Let's keep going with this stuff. Words. So we'll maybe take that length, twice as long as that. Fine. I might actually just move some of this stuff over. There we go. So then, yeah, here I guess. No, I think here. So I'll maybe come up with a different drum beat as well, and I think a different harp pattern. Let's go back to the original harp pattern. Why not? Like so. So then we'll end with an A, but it won't be our actual A because we'll come back and do something else after. So we'll duplicate this part and we'll have that A come in maybe like a beat before. Yeah. No, probably after actually. We'll put it, there we go. And we'll cut those. And then, oopsie, there we go. And then maybe we can come back in with the same drum beat. The little drum fill there. So that's off to the right. I guess we need to automate this piano to go off to the left. That's nice and easy to do. Lovely, like that. Okay. Maybe fade out the xylophone, it's getting a bit annoying. There as well. Let's have a different drum beat here. Nothing like radically different. Maybe we'll just go off beats. Yeah, we'll try that. Oopsie. Lower velocity there. Higher velocity on the off beats. Copied the wrong thing. Big sneeze. Big sneeze. There. I do like that kind of rhythm. We'll maybe have that here as well. Of course, we'll go back to the original piano part there, and then we'll fade out or something. I don't know, haven't decided. Let's maybe take 2 each of these harp parts, because I can't remember to think any harder than that right now. We'll do 3 each of them. That's a funny, stupid number. Yeah. Bit. What I might do is have that change actually, so this is the A it lands on. So it's going to be a more dramatic kind of phasing, but I quite like that. There we go. Let's just recolor that so we all know what phasing is. There we go. Because it sort of feels like it falls back in step at the end. That's quite satisfying. So I've built a little structure out whilst that was repeating. We're on to 4.5 minutes. I think that might be as long as we want this to go. So the structure's a little hard to read, I guess. So I guess we start off with the piano part, the motif, the ostinato, the repeating thing. We then switch into, we add the harp, which is playing the augmented version. It's the same, just longer. We then have the viola playing an inversion, I suppose. One thing technically we didn't do is just reversal, which is one of the easiest ones. So that's playing an inversion. Oh no, that is backwards, because we're just playing the notes in reverse order with a new rhythm. Then the bass is playing very much augmented with a slightly different rhythm. Then we've added a drum kit. And we've got a little break here where the xylophone is introduced. And when we come back into it, we've skipped forward a few iterations to another version of the harp. Viola's playing exactly the same thing. In fact, we might put it off to the side just so it's slightly hidden. The bass is mostly playing that A sharp tonic root note, but the last bar is the G sharp, the minor 7. Then in this bit, it's the same drum beat. The bass is playing all 4 notes again, but only quarter minims. Yeah, minims, 2 notes per bar. We've skipped back to a previous version of what the harp was doing, and then we get into this section with a new drum beat where we have the piano phasing thing as the xylophone sort of fades out there. And then when we come back in, the piano's back to normal. The bass is doing that 2-note thing instead of the 4-note thing, and then it switches to the 4-note thing with a bar rhythm that I'm fond of. And then we're just slowly working through all the different harp versions until we get to the very end, and we end with harp and piano. Let's listen to it. It's pretty. I'm pretty fond of this. Again, I quite like what we can make inside of not much time. And I always like trying out different techniques. Like I use minimalist techniques, quite often, but it's always nice to recap what they are. Let's have a bit of a listen. Don't forget to save your work. Control and S all the time. Let's have a listen. Yeah, I really like that. This was an accident having the drum break in there, but it works really well. It's interesting how the repetition, the bass, when we establish that we have one note per bar, no matter what rhythm we played at, it's so interesting that when we break that, like the degree of tension that adds. I really like that. And then the slight relief of... I thought it'd be really weird having the extremely panned pianos, but it was weird because like we have these two instruments that are slightly out of sync with each other and then drastically out of sync with each other, and it's quite hard to tell which one's the wrong one, I think, sometimes, and you've just got to listen to that drum beat to know where you're supposed to be. Yeah, I'm quite proud of this, actually. Like, I'm trying to think in my head what would I do to make it, you know, releasable as a piece of music commercially. And the big thing is always like, well, actually, if you can add vocals is going to elevate it significantly. I don't know how you do that with this particular piece of music. I think we might have some like noise filters and risers for these different transitions, just to signal that changes are about to happen. I don't know if I'd change the instrumentation. I quite like it. I might try and make some of these things a little more lo-fi, a little crustier. So, for example, rather than having this same one bar motif repeated in MIDI, I might have that as a loop. So they're kind of, the sounds are cut off and it feels a little more inorganic, which I quite like. And then, of course, if you do that with the different piano parts, like the phasing, you get some artifacting, which might be quite nice through stretching. So that was Digital Minimalism. So we started off with a motif, I think a one-bar phrase, wasn't it? A one-bar phrase that we repeated on piano. The piano doesn't deviate from that. We've got a harp that was doing different versions and evolving over time. Viola was playing a reversal with a new rhythm. The xylophone was much faster, but then gradually working towards becoming the original motif, which was quite fun and chaotic. Bass was just doing a very slow version where the rhythm changed gradually, and then we just added a drum kit and we rearranged everything and had some fun. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching Digital Minimalism. I hope you like All the Blue. I'm a big fan of All the Blue. And there's a little face of a guy behind me there. Don't worry about him. He's haunting me. I will be back next Monday. I can't remember what the subject of next Monday is. That's fine, because I wrote it down. Lo-fi. Easy. We'll smash that. We'll have a great time. Yes. If you're catching these on... if you're catching these not live... I would be really interested to know what I got to do to get you to join the live streams when they're live. That's something that I'm quite interested in. If it's just the fact that, hey, I'm not free Mondays at 6 p.m. when you stream, that's absolutely fine. I don't mind. I know that I'm not going to be able to please everyone all the time. And that's just the way it is. If it's just the fact that you prefer catching up, if you like to pause, go away, make your dinner, come back, I understand that. I'm just curious to know the reason. So if you want to leave us a little comment in the little comment section below, let me know why it is that you're watching this on playback rather than watching the live thing. Please don't be shy. Genuinely interested to know, is there a way that I could compel you to come to the actual live event Mondays at 6 p.m. UK time? Let me know. And I'll see you next Monday for lo-fi, a good old lo-fi time. That's what we'll call it. I don't know. I might forget. See you later, folks. Thanks for hanging out.